And we are live. What's up, everybody watching across the nation? It's a beautiful day in West Texas. Is today Wednesday or Tuesday?
Today is Wednesday.
Man, I'm on a different schedule. Old holler, I get my days off at different times, so I forget. So it's Wednesday. What time? I guess 11:30. And here I am with my buddy Shannon, and we're gonna have a quick conversation, y'all. This is gonna be streaming on all platforms, and we met at the Vander Ranch situation. We'll touch on that.
We did.
But this guy knows a lot of crazy stuff, even about Hobbs, which he was telling me about some unalivings in Hobbs. But anyways, give me an introduction, Shannon. Who are you? And go ahead.
My name is Shannon, and I've been around the Permian Basin most of my life. I lived out in North Texas as well for 20 years, and I just kind of had been awakened to politics, since 2001.
Okay.
I would say, kind of after that, just the questions that swirled around what took place and things that had happened and things that just didn't make sense. And at first, you buy the original narrative story because you want to. You don't want to ever believe that, we actually live in a world where your government is that corrupt.
Tell me about it.
Because I was raised, my mother was solid Democrat and my grandfather was he worked for the Rockefellers. Okay.
This was back in the day when Democrats were a different party. Is that accurate or not really?
It's actually the same party. It's just no different. Okay. But he worked for the Rockefellers. His brother, Fred Baker, built Standard Oil Company gas stations all across the country. My grandfather drove the limo for J.D. Rockefeller. They bought him his first car.
What town?
My grandfather lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and what brought them out to Hobbs was to build a Standard Oil gas station, and my grandfather was going to run it. So it was either Corpus or here, and they chose Hobbs for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I was always raised in this Democrat household, Democrats working for the working man. I didn't realize those were communist slogans at the time, but the Rockefellers are the Rothschilds. Basically, their money came from the Rothschilds. They're not, they were not just born rich. It's all tied together. Making cartels of the Rothschilds and whatnot. But I was told a lot of stories, about, oh, how awesome welfare is, Social Security. I was brought up to think that was the way we should go. That we're going to be taking care of our government. We should have universal health care. All these things I was always taught that.
It sounds good, right? But
well, I didn't know any better, and I just kind of went along with it. But the amount of I hate to say it, but there was a racist element to that side of my family, and I just never sat right with me. As a child, I felt like I was filled with the Holy Spirit at a young age, and I just could discern what was right and what was wrong. So as I got older, I matured into believing what my gut and what I felt was this, maybe the Holy Spirit or whatever telling me what was correct. And so when I see things that are wrong, I know they're wrong. Usually your gut is a good indicator of that. And I believe that 100%.
And I think that even comes from your conscience, your God-given conscience. Amen. And especially if you're a Christian, we're taught to not rely on basically our flesh or our emotions, but something deeper, right? And I think God has given us, even people that are not Christians, right? Any person is given a conscience, and
right.
It's pretty crazy when you start realizing all this. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I just want to.
Well, I was just going to say, I never knew about our pineal gland growing up. Did they ever tell you about yours in your school?
Nope. Yeah. Well, I think we learned. I don't know if I heard that word before, but no, not like I've heard like other people talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, your pineal gland is basically a crystal in your skull that allows you to receive your messages from God, and fluoride is one of the interrupters of that.
And that's proven.
Yes.
Okay.
It in things that you take.
Just watch out with certain things on.
Yeah. So it can interrupt those receptors.
And the pineal, I ain't trying to go too far in the weeds there, but that right there, what exactly is it? Because you just said, what did you say it was?
It's basically a crystal in your skull.
A crystal in your skull.
Yeah. Okay. So radio used to be ran off crystals, correct? back in the day, all radios and televisions had a crystal inside of them. That's how it worked. So your pineal gland is something that would allow you to receive and send messages, right? Like you could connect to your creator. When you see in the Hinduism people sitting there with their legs crossed and they got their hands and they holding their hands in a circle with their fingers up and they're meditating, what they were doing, they could actually make that pineal gland spin in their head. And they could have experiences out of the body and basically teleport. And if you go down to Peru or anywhere like that, you could run into people that would tell you that they do that still to this day.
Talking about Peru, Peru has a lot of crazy things over there. I heard about the giants of Peru.
Yeah,
and I ain't trying to go too far deep into that stuff, but there's so much stuff, hidden history.
Why do they have doorways? 25, 30 foot tall, made out of granite that lead to nothing. Who was that for? Of course, they had giants.
And it's even like a biblical fact that they're here before and after the flood. And I'm a hardline Baptist. A lot of Baptists, they don't really, believe in that. But I've done a lot of study on that. Even before I went on social media, Steve Quayle and now Timothy Alberino and all of them, they've had a lot of biblical proofs that they claim are there, which I've seen in the Bible too. And I even got some books on my shelf here about, ancient giants and stuff like that.
Yes.
And even across America, they had giant mounds and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting to say the least.
Well, 200 angels descended on Mount Hermon. Hermon means to make a pact, and they made a pact to go against God and take some women for themselves as wives. And that's where those giants came from.
Yeah, that's the theory that they say. And like I said, I run with a bunch of Baptists, man. They don't want to hear about that. They don't want to hear even about the Book of Enoch and all that. And I just prescribe to my King James Bible. I just keep it simple.
Well, the King James Bible used to contain a lot of these books. The 1690 version of the King James Bible had a lot of these books, and those books were soon removed. If you go and find the Ethiopian Bible,
I've heard
you can find these books still in that Bible. That Bible's 200 years older than the King James version of the Bible.
Yeah,
a Bible is just a collection of the books, right?
Yeah,
it's just them all into one. It's called a Bible. It's called the book. But those individual scripts, you can find in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Enoch was in there.
Yeah.
Now, Enoch 2 and 3, I'm not sure about those, but the Enoch 1, if you read that, it all points to Christ.
And like I said, I just keep mine simple. I just keep me a regular King James, and that's just how I operate. Well, and I know other people, they go deeper into that, but I really don't. Like I said, I'm just a simple man. I'd read a King James, and I don't really, look into other texts. I think I'm already busy as it is, but I know people do that.
I dove into all that, so
okay.
And the awakening that I had from it was incredible. My biblical understanding went up 10,000 fold just from reading Enoch and going into some of these other books that were, forbidden. The level of awakeness that you will experience is incredible. Because really, Enoch, the whole time, is pointing towards Christ. And they try to poo-poo it and tell you it's not real, and then that you shouldn't read these things. But theological schools are controlled, and I don't know what they really taught, and I've met a few pastors that share my view, and then very few, and it's been very few.
Yeah, hold on, I'm addressing everybody saying it's frozen. My feeds are not frozen, y'all, on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if y'all's went out saying it's buffering. What the hell's going on here? Horrid. My Facebook feed's buffering. Luckily, we're on YouTube. Anyways, we'll continue going. So we're kind of going off in the weeds, though, but that's good, though. That's what I want to talk to you about. You have an interesting story and understanding, and we wanted to detail that. So let's kind of go back this way. We met at the Vander Ranch situation, right?
We did.
But before we go into, you even got some crazy stuff you want to talk about. Hobbs, correct?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. But real quick, the Vander Ranch situation, man, this one of my Facebook feed's not over here working, dude. It kind of really pisses me off at this point.
Maybe we said something we shouldn't have said.
Wow. Anyways, so Vander Ranch, you said you were the first one to find out about Vander Ranch.
Well,
so before you start, can you just tell everybody what the situation was about Vander Ranch that we all came to, to talk about it?
Well, I mean, for Vander Ranch, we were all sold on this beautiful neighborhood. Um, it's going to have, all these ponds and a 3-acre fishing lake with restaurants. And I paid an extra $6,000 or $10,000 for a lot to have a view of this pond. And it was going to have all these parks and everything. It was going to be the most amazing place. It had a big sign out front. It says city water and sewer out front.
This was how many years ago?
This was in 2020 when I was looking to move out here. So me and my wife, we have 4 children. So we were like, we want a 5-bedroom house. And to get a 5-bedroom house, was the fastest way we were going to be able to get a 5-bedroom house, was to buy a house from Dr. Horton or DR Horton,
And it was brand new, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that was the builder, and them and the developer had a fallen out, and so DR Horton pulled out. We get in, nothing's done. The pool's not done. This was like in 2022 or so.
Okay.
And
you moved from where?
Lake Granbury, Texas,
To Midland or Greenwood?
to Greenwood, yes. Because
what were you thinking? I was thinking,
well, at the time in 2020, the oil field was in pretty bad shape because of the C word. And then my bosses needed someone to come out here and take over out here. So I said, okay. And so, but I knew that in order to come out here, I was going to have to move out here. And my wife said, okay, well, let's go. And we both grew up in the area, so it wasn't so bad. But our kids had never experienced West Texas.
Okay.
In that way. They grew up there. But anyways, Vander Ranch, it was just, we just daily sandstorms and tumbleweeds the size of cars. And there was one neighborhood, the houses were filled, the trampolines were even filled inside the netting full of tumbleweeds and the whole yard.
It was all the time like that.
Yeah, it was awful. And there was just no control or any help. So it started really getting to me because, I lived in a beautiful place and I thought this was going to be a nice place for the area. And they sent out an email saying that, oh, we're sorry, DR Horton pulled out. And so we don't know what we're going to do. And
What do you mean they pulled out? You're already in the house?
well, we were already in our houses. They weren't going to build any more houses.
Okay.
So the developer, he decides that he's going to build his own style of houses and he's going to build rentals instead.
So it was a DR Horton build before everything else?
Correct.
What? Okay, but go ahead. And I'm sorry, I'm paying attention,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
trying to fix his feet.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
got you.
Go ahead.
So, we're
recording though.
we get there and we get this email and I'm like, what's going on? And then that's when Rick Chittum seeked me out and was like, I heard that you kind of know what's going on out here. We started talking, and then we started dealing with Amy, and she had a lot of information. And then Rick's daughter Ashley and all of us together had started really putting the pieces together.
Was this before the water situation that you felt?
Oh yeah, this is way before the water situation.
Oh, so y'all were already like something's weird here?
Yeah, something's not right. I mean, they also now they had a contract with this builder to build, I don't know, 1,500 homes out there. And all of a sudden they canceled the contract and this guy's not going out to sue them. And I told Rick, I said, this doesn't make sense. Somebody signed a contract with you to build this many homes. And he's in breach of that contract. Why are you not pursuing, legal action against him?
Okay.
And so me and Rick started doing some digging and who they were. And we come to find out that the HOA was in forfeiture. So what that means that the HOA didn't exist. And that HOA, while it was not existing, they could change the covenants of the HOA to build anything they wanted.
How did y'all find this out?
Well, like I said, Amy and Ashley and myself and Rick, we just done a lot of digging. So the state of Texas, the Secretary of State's office, you can find, we go in there, you look at their HOA, and it said it was in forfeiture. They owed, I don't know, money back on some taxes or something. And so we just thought it was kind of odd. And then they start building these smaller homes with different roof lines. And they also, the builder was on the board of the HOA. and they're the only ones on the board of the HOA.
And that's very odd, right?
Yeah, very odd. So they can change everything and manipulate it however they want it.
Okay.
And so we were, so we got all these, smaller rental homes, and we knew it was going to hurt our property values, and so we sued, and we won in forfeiture. We won a forfeiture.
Y'all sued when?
It's been 2 years ago.
Before the water?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we
Oh,
won.
damn, I didn't know
We
that.
won a $3 million lawsuit.
Who did?
Me and Rick and Amy. But because of the amount of it, and that they basically forfeited, didn't show up, we got their attention, and they come back and said, "Wait a minute, we didn't know we were being sued." And this was the 3 of the owners and board members of the HOA. So we sued them directly.
Okay.
So we started finding their assets, and so we could collect our money. And then we got their attention, and then they come back and said, "Oh, we were never served, and so we're going to file an appeal." And so we were like, "Okay, this is going to drag out forever." And so we made a deal with their attorneys that we would, instead of going for an appeal, that we would start a whole new case, because we were going to get our $3 million anyways. We would have went to an appeal, they would just drag out. So we said, okay. So now we're in a whole new case, and it's been about a year. We're set to go to trial in March.
But that's for that. That's not for the water?
No, it's just for the
Okay.
HOA. Because
Wow.
what
Okay.
they did, they tried to deny that they were in forfeiture, but it was
Clear.
So it was on the attorney or the state Secretary of State's website.
Yeah, that's as official as it can get. So let me ask you this: when did you start noticing the problems with the water? Because right here, y'all, is where we get involved. Well, not here, but this is why we got involved, is due to the water was harming the neighborhood, the people that live there. When did you start noticing something was off about the water?
Well, let's go back to the same time we were doing the HOA lawsuit. We also had filed a lawsuit against Park Water at that time.
And Park Water shoe?
Park Water is the water supplier for Greenwood, and it was supposed to be just for Vander Ranch, but now they supply all Greenwood. So,
and that's normal, right, to have a water distribution, company like that for certain places. Is that
Well-
normal or not?
well, when we purchased our house, it said it was city water and sewer. So that we of course we have pictures of the sign, we can prove all that. But we had filed a lawsuit against Park Water at that time, and the reason why they had some protections, and we had to prove criminal before we could, do anything. So we went just after the HOA. But at that time there was sewage leaking all over the ground.
And you noticed that.
Oh yeah, and then we were like, wow, so we did a lot of investigation into where the sewage was going, and then we looked at their sewer system, and it was basically a frack tank sitting out there that they were collecting sewer. And at that time,
Hold on, they're collecting sewer in a frack tank.
yes, and so and then they had all of a sudden all these different new buildings were appearing out there that had abilities to move water around. And then the pond behind my house that I paid for the view of, that's where they were putting that reclaimed water, 25 foot from my property line.
They're putting the
Reclaimed water. They were supposedly cleaning it up and putting it in that pond.
and that okay.
So basically it was,
And did it stink and everything?
oh God, it was awful.
Okay.
Because they would dump it at 11 o'clock at night, and you would, my kids and my wife thought, they're like, our water smells bad, because they turn on the faucet and it would come out of the drain. The smell would come back up in there. I was like, no, that's sewage from the sewer.
Okay.
They're not having anywhere to put all this sewer, so they're struggling to handle the amount of sewage they're taking on, because they also had added another subdivision and then piped all that sewage into there as well. So over behind that Family Dollar and Dollar Tree store, I believe that's what it is, they built a whole new subdivision back there.
Who owns that one?
Same people.
Are they having water issues too?
Yeah, when we had water issues, they had water issues, of course.
So real quick, you notice the sewage. When did you start noticing like the burns or the chemical burns from the water, like
about
affecting
that,
your health?
About that time, right? So
Wow.
So we had a lot of issues, and then we had really fought hard to get down to the bottom of the truth, and I know you interviewed Rick, and he told you a lot of it, and we have a lot of legal precedent for it, and we have a lot of documentation. We have whistleblowers. We have everything.
It's a big scandal, dude.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And I mean, I would say, I mean, this is just me speculating, but it probably is pretty criminal for a lot of the things that gone on.
Big time. And let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on? I know one I know has a favorable view of Jeff Summers, Terry Johnson, the county judge. Do you think that they hold any liability in this, or what were your overall thoughts of them,
I don't
especially
know.
Johnson?
Well, the thing is with Johnson was he went on the radio and just trashed us. Like he compared us to the rioters in Los Angeles at the time. And he kept saying, "Oh, they're just attacking Orange Man bad. They're a bunch of Democrat carpetbaggers and this and that." And I was like, "Sir, I'm way more conservative than you will ever be. You probably
Yeah,
have
and
not a clue." But
I don't need no America calling me a Democrat carpetbagger.
yeah, and a carpetbagger. You know what the definition?
No,
of
what is that?
A carpetbagger was someone that came from the North after the Civil War and went to the South. And what they did, they protected the slaves as they were transitioning. They were like, there for the slaves. So it's kind of an honor to be called a carpetbagger. But they call them carpetbaggers because their luggage and stuff was made out of carpet.
Why would he call us that word?
Because he thinks it means just someone just shows up and jumps into a situation for the money. That's people who come here for all the amenities but putting none of the hard work in.
And he was talking bad about a woman that I know. I'm not going to mention the name now, but saying that she wanted all the fame and attention. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. When we went out to Vander Ranch to go help or to go even film, I mean, it takes time out of our day too. We want to go help. We don't go do that to go get views. I mean, I get millions of views every month on just easily posting memes and political stuff on my pages. But for him to say that we wanted fame out of this, I thought that was just. He said that we hijacked the movement of Vander Ranch.
Well,
Shannon.
Well, because you were effective, right? And he didn't like that because it's exposing the underbelly of how corrupt local governments are.
We're finna get into that. And let me ask you this: do you think he did a good job? Did he know about it? Because I've also heard, and I don't want to put too much of a spin on it, but I've heard that people are connected where they don't want to help due to financial gain, or there's some plays behind the scene. I'll leave it at that.
Well, okay, any boomtown, whether it was gold rush time or whenever, you're going to get that element, right?
Obviously, yeah.
Even the local people become, everybody. It's just, you think since 2015, how much money's flown around out here. And money is the ultimate corrupter. I mean, how many people that have gone to Congress with good intentions that you get sucked into it?
I would even say with the local politics, these people that are mayors and all these positions, the mayor of Midland says that she makes $25 a month and donates it to charity, but she got over $300,000 donated for her campaign, for a $25 a month job.
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of odd. I don't know.
Why would you spend millions of dollars to get elected to something that pays you $25? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense, right? Why would you run? I mean, I was going to run for Congress, and I was going to need about $2 million. And why do I need $2 million to make $175,000 a year? You know what I'm saying? It's obvious. And we all know it. I mean, Nancy Pelosi didn't get rich, selling goat cheese. She got rich by being in government.
Many of them did.
All of them.
And okay, but let's go back to Vander Ranch. So you Terry Johnson, your overall thoughts on his help or his
he claimed he flew over and the grass was green out there, so there was not a water problem. That's what he said. But he wasn't living. He didn't come and ask us, "Hey, let me see your text messages of when the water shuts off at 5 p.m." and then doesn't come back on until 6 a.m. the next morning.
So are they currently doing that still?
No. They actually finally brought some more wells on, and as far as I know, I have since moved. So,
you moved from Vander Ranch?
Yes, I moved from Vander Ranch, and about that time they were getting things sorted out, but there was just a taint to the neighborhood. So selling your home out there is very difficult. So I found somebody that would lease it and move into it, and they've had no issues. But at the time before that, it was awful because we went through several months of not having any water. And But Terry Johnson, acted like we were just being ridiculous because these yards were green. But me and my wife we would walk through the neighborhood, and people would have water slides, and they'd be washing their car, even though we were on water restrictions. And then by the end of the night, they would be like, "We're out of water, so you people need to not be taking your showers, or you got to wait till tomorrow now." But people would just didn't adhere to the deal. There was people who lived across the street from me, and they and their sprinklers came on every day. They had a busted sprinkler that watered their driveway every morning. And then they would be out there in the yard spraying their yard with the hose too, as well.
So they weren't
Nobody
adhering.
cared. The street was always flooded. So the water issue was, it may or may not have been real. I have no way of really knowing. I mean, was those wells really dry? Because, also they were pushing a bond to tie us into the water in Midland. They wanted us to pay for that so they could run it to the prison and to the school and then tie us in.
Hold on. So you saying, were the wells really dry? Why'd you say that for?
I don't know.
Man, I never thought about it like that.
How these people run their waters, sprinklers night and day, I mean, and then
and the bond fails, and now they got water.
Yeah, and then I was like telling people, I was like, it's really odd. The streets are flooded, every morning. So why are they not coming here and giving people tickets or pulling their meter? Because that's what would happen in a city. Our water would literally go off sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night and not come on until the next morning. But yet, and then when it came back on, everybody's sprinklers came on. And one of the owners of the water company and also board members of the HOA lived in the neighborhood. Did he not recognize that was a problem? But then that bond came along, and I just have a lot of questions.
Okay. So we'll move on from the Vander Ranch. It was, when I went out there, I felt so bad. I thought the neighborhood was kind of old school neighborhood, even though they're all kind of close houses together, kind of like they built them like that or whatever. There was a lot of community, kids running around. It just has a good vibe as far as the people that are there. I did see some kids like hauling ass and people getting mad about it. Like I think they probably do have issues there. Is that right?
Oh yeah. I thought a gun pointed at me a few times. But so Terry, say something about Terry Johnson.
Go ahead.
I would debate Terry Johnson on that water issue anytime, anywhere. And if he wins, I will donate $1,000 to his campaign.
Okay.
So there's a challenge, Terry Johnson. If you want to debate me on the water issues out there, I would be glad to do it live on any television, radio station, any platform. But it has to be live, and it has to be on a platform. And I will donate $1,500 to his campaign if he can beat me on a debate.
Do you think that he did his voters wrong?
Well, absolutely. He just wanted to cover it up, and he made a lot of odd comments and statements, and I just don't think he really was that invested in what was going on. They just were proving those lots, and they proved more lots even when the water was off. Him and that county commissioner, can't remember his name. They were still proving plots, right?
Yeah, Summers.
They're still building out there, and I just doesn't make sense, right? And I get it. We need to develop it, but there needs to be water.
It's a messed up deal, and we're going to the local politics. We got a lot more to cover, so we'll move on from the Vander Ranch. So, I guess I'm trying to think where to go. Where to go. So let's talk about. I don't know. I kind of want to be careful with the 9/11 stuff. So when did you wake up to what's going on? Because you told me earlier you wanted to run for a position, and it costs a lot of money. And I would even say it's dangerous. Politics, even local politics, they start. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I'm throwing mud too. It gets real ugly. And when did you first, wake up to, what you see is the world like how it is? I don't know if I would say that you're R-pilled, right? Red-pilled, if I can even say them words on here, but
definitely not black-pilled.
Yeah,
or blue-pilled.
So, some people are black-pilled at this point. But anyways, when did this happen for you?
Well, it's just after things didn't make sense anymore. At first I toted the line. I'm pro for our troops, and I love what they done for us, and I'm feel bad that they were used for what they were used for. But
do you still support them?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I love our soldiers and anybody that's served, and I think they're awesome people. I mean, I never did, so I'm not as I don't consider myself as a good of a patriot as people that I have served.
Yeah.
But I'm doing what I can by trying to educate people because about COVID, or sorry, the C word.
It's all good.
Everybody that poo-pooed me and said that, I was crazy and just conspiracy theorists started calling me. What's going on? Why is this happening? You know, everybody in my family and that thought I was crazy and they were saying, well, none of this is making sense to us. Can you kind of help us through it? And I explained it to them. I said, well, they made documentaries, movies, and they had meetings about all this before this happened. Before the C word even came in, they exposed it.
And speaking of that, it just came out that Biden's administration made Google and even YouTube and everybody, and he was on Facebook. My wife remembers it. They were taking us down left and right.
Oh, yeah, they took everybody down.
Even right now, I had to kind of tell you before we started about certain words because they ban you. That's crazy that they would do that for. I seen there's things on YouTube that are pretty horrendous podcasts that talk about crazy things, but you talk about this kind of stuff and they take your whole account down. But back to what I was saying, they came out saying that YouTube is apologizing, basically made a statement that they were forced by the Biden administration to do this to people about the Rona, and they're telling the content creators to come back, they'll be reinstated. So it shows you right there that the government actually went to, which we were saying that then, they went to these big platforms and these big companies and told them to censor people.
Sure,
and it was they just admitted it.
We knew that at the time.
Yeah, we went through it.
Yeah, because I mean, even I was censored all the time. I was censored nonstop. I mean, I was told I could never have create another page on Facebook. I had created, I even created a Fire Greg Abbott page because I was mad at him for what he did during the C word.
Oh yeah, damn,
yeah. So
I was pushing it hard in Midland. I wasn't wearing no mask.
No,
I wasn't putting. I was playing in games.
My company sent me to Ohio during all that, right?
And what is it, red or blue over there?
It's
kind of red. I heard.
It's very red.
Yeah,
but you have a lot of sheep. They're not as woke.
I've seen some they got MAGA mask.
Yeah,
I've seen some.
So I go to Walmart with this guy. He was from West Virginia, and because I needed a phone charger, and they're letting only so many people in the door. I just walked right in.
Yeah,
with no mask, and you're yelling at me, sir, put on your mask, and I was like, no, don't have to. And I went and bought what I wanted and walked out, and he just couldn't believe it. He was just like, wow.
That's what happened to me. We went to San Antonio. It was right before they shut down Texas, which is horrendous. That's messed up. And we were walking through HEB in San Antonio or Austin. I forgot. It was Austin. And my whole family, we're no mask, don't ask. We ain't subscribing to none of that. And they're all just, I'm telling you, we're walking through the whole store and they're all just looking at us, following us around. And the manager finally came up to me and said, sir, we do have masks if you want to wear. I said, is it a law? No. Well, we're not going to wear them. We walked out. She even said, where are you from? We told her we're from Midlands. Like, yeah, y'all are very respectful. Like, they treated us a certain way, but they were tripping out because we weren't conforming to that crap. And then that happened the day before, or the weekend before they shut it down. But same thing happened there. They were treating us a certain way, or they were just tripping out to see us like that. I got into many fights and all kinds of stuff. But what I ended up doing, my wife would go to TJ Maxx right when they hit you at the door. I wouldn't even talk to them no more. I would start saying either call the police or leave me alone. After a while, I just started walking in, and I wouldn't even talk to the person trying to hand me a mask. That's how fed up I was with it. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everywhere I went, and I refused. And Granbury got real combative about it. Like the citizens stood up and said, "No, we met at the square. We had rallies."
Wow.
And the judge there, I'm not going to mention his name, but he was pushing it, but the county attorney refused. He said, "I will not." Matthew Mills. He said, "I will not prosecute any of these people for any of this. So y'all can arrest them, do what you want, but it's going to die with me." So they had no choice, right? So I went to the gym every day there and did what I wanted to do, and we went and bought a boat, and we just stayed on the lake and
wow,
enjoyed ourselves. And after a while, people just gave up.
And I'm gonna be honest, whenever I never got tested for it, I don't trust going to Midland Memorial Hospital. The Bredemis family, they run that hospital. Kit Bredemis and Heather Bredemis, she was running around Midland the mask police trying to get people shut down and companies shut down. They weren't bowing down to this mask stuff. And their husband is Kip Bredemus. He's a big guy at the Middle Memorial Hospital, and they're big time lefty maskers. And I don't want to go to the Middle Memorial Hospital because it's kind of crazy once you start realizing these people that push this I don't even know what to call it at this point, right? This ideology that they have. I mean, look what they did to Charlie Kirk, but people that push these crazy ideologies, especially the mask stuff, they are in the government. They are in the health sectors. Like, I told them, everybody knows, a lot of people don't like Middle Memorial, but if I get sick, I don't want to go there because why? I got people that are there that don't like me. They push all this other crap, and I don't trust them, to be completely honest. And I don't think it's too far much of a reach to say I have a reason not to trust them because they're there in these positions of power. But back to the mask stuff, we were against it, and I forgot the point I had, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, it just got to the point to where I just said no. I mean, and there was times that my wife and children got embarrassed because I was so defiant.
Same here.
And they still talk about it, bring it up sometimes. Like, you remember the time you were mean to that teenage boy? And I said, well, that teenage boy was trying to trample on my rights, and I don't care who it is. They're not going to trample my rights. I have a right to be free. And this is a country, and where were the piles of dead bodies? That was my question.
Hey, and I want to add this. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
But when I thought I caught it, me and my wife, both of us, we just laid in bed for 10 days and suffered. Well, I didn't go get tested. I didn't want to go to Middle Memorial. That was my point in my last statement. And I said, Lord, if it's my time, I'm going to go here with my wife. And I mean, that's just how we dealt with it because we didn't trust the hospital. I didn't trust going there because my dad got it and they had to fly him out there to Houston. And man, you couldn't even go in there, And I don't want to touch too much on that stuff because you get in a lot of trouble over here. But I'll just say that whenever I think that I caught it, which I didn't even get tested for it, me and my wife were just in bed for 10 days. It ran its course and we survived. And I lost a little bit of weight.
Every employee that I had that, because they would bring in a notice saying that, it all said SARS. So it was SARS COVID. That's what it'd say, right? So it was just SARS. COVID had been around a long time. I mean, they had COVID shots for cows and stuff long before that. And even in the Lysol you were spraying your house said it would kill COVID. So, and then we just started hearing that word, and they kept changing it. At first they called it something else, and then they changed it to something else, and then.
So let me just ask you, without saying too much, what do you think the whole play was? To see how dumb we were?
Well, okay, they had to plan this already, ahead of time. I mean, there was a movie that I don't know if you ever saw it. It might have been on Netflix, and it had where a Bill Gates type character was, and they had this fake pandemic, and he made a vaccine, and the vaccine was to sterilize people.
The V, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there was, the 2020 election, there was no way. I mean, Trump was popular, and so they needed something to do a bunch of mail-in ballots, to do a bunch of drop boxes and things like that. So I think that's had a lot to do with it. And Podesta had a plan. I don't know if you ever read the Podesta plan.
I never read it, but you want to summarize it?
Well, basically,
not watch out with certain words.
The best Podesta plan is if they couldn't win it this way, and
they would do it another way.
Yeah, they were going to do what they're doing now. They were going to have states succeed. They were going for things to cause a civil war, to create chaos within the country and divide the country up, and then hopefully out of the ashes of the burnt down nation that they would rule over all of us.
He wrote that?
Yeah, they absolutely did. That was their plan, and that's the plan they're activating right now. I mean,
what do you mean they're activating it right now?
Well, I mean, look at what they did to Charlie Kirk. That was hopefully to get us all riled up enough to want to go out and riot and act like a bunch of crazy maniacs. That's what they want. They think we're going to act like them, because that's what happened when their hero, when their poster boy was killed. They go and they burn down cities and they destroy everything around.
That's good.
But it's okay.
So let's touch on the Charlie Kirk situation. Do you believe the official narrative? Now, I'll say this. Well, I won't say I don't know what to believe, but I haven't really given it much thought, right? But I do know there's a bunch of conspiracies out there. I don't like to subscribe to too many so quickly, at least, because I do have a platform and I got to be very responsible with what I put out there, right? But everybody's blaming a certain little country. I'll leave it at that. Way far out there. I'm like, how could they? In my head, I'm like, I told my wife, I said, Dan, it's kind of crazy. They're blaming them. But even Fuentes comes out and says it's not them. But I'll just say this: it's just very odd, very tragic, and I think something like that is going to go down in history as it's. I mean, that's a big time um, loss we took, and if I don't know if we'll ever find out really the truth of a lot of these situations, not just him, but I know the narrative is out there. It's the guy, jumping off the roof and all that, and I tend to believe it. But I haven't been sitting here digging too much into it. What are your thoughts on the actual Charlie Kirk situation? And please watch your words if you don't mind. Sorry to tell you that.
Yeah, the whole thing with that is, I don't think it's the conspiracy behind it is driven behind what he was shot with. A 30-06 from 200 yards would have just passed through him. To hit a vertebrae and bounce around in there is a little ridiculous. Kind of like the magic bullet with Kennedy. There's, but that's the weapon they're saying, did the murder and then it blew up inside the bullet and it came out the side of his neck. I mean, it's plausible. It could happen. But why would the Trump or administration or the FBI or anybody want to cover that up? What would be the purpose of that? What narrative are they trying to push? I mean, they gain nothing out of it. You know what I'm saying? By covering up what he was really shot with. Maybe they just want to close the case sooner. I have no idea. But I've heard all these conspiracies, and I can definitely tell you it wasn't that little country far away, because the shooter would have been not have survived, right? Because in many cases, when it is a cover up, that person. I mean, how quick was what was his name, Crooks, on the roof of that shot Trump? That narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, how fast was he dead?
We didn't even know much about him.
No,
it's funny. It's funny they don't even have no social media footprint either.
No, they washed the roof off, and then when they went to his house, it was already clean and scrubbed. And
well, it's kind of crazy. Like, what's the name that shot? What's the name? Like right there on live TV, Ruby. What was his name?
Yeah, Oswald.
Yeah, right there in front of everybody. Like that was very odd to say the least.
Yes,
and that all that other stuff too. I mean, think about it. In history, do we ever really find out what the real story is? I mean, it's hard.
The shooter dies, right? The shooter dies.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so you do believe the official narrative. What do you believe on? Like I said, I haven't really put too much thought in it. But I'll say this: it did affect me and my family so bad that for like a week or two,
I was upset.
I'd wake up thinking about them, and I saw a good point that someone said that basically all of us saw basically our lives, like what's it going to matter in the end? What we stood up for, what we talked about. We actually saw somebody get unalived right in front of our faces, so it was very traumatizing to the whole nation, if you liked them or not. And I think that was just more. That was a more. I don't want to say. I don't know. That was just more surprising and alarming to where I haven't really been digging into like all these conspiracies. Plus, I'm real busy, but seeing it impacted me and my family big time.
Well, I like I said, I don't know what happened that day, but I know he died tragically, and that he his movement is going to even be bigger now. What they did, they've created a monster. They thought it was going to create riots, right? I believe that there's a segment of the country that has they're being used to foment riots and chaos, just like they did when Trump's first presidency. Antifa, they did a lot. They burnt down whole cities, right? And
I could have
and attacked people, and then like the guys from the Proud Boys, if they fought back, a lot of them wound up in jail, and some of them are still in jail. They were jumped in New York City, walking down the street and defended themselves, and some of those guys are still in prison.
That's what I told my wife. I'm glad I didn't go to the J6 situation, because I probably would have
almost did. I went to Austin.
I would have been in prison.
Yeah, I would have. Me too. I went to Austin and gave a speech there. And,
oh yeah,
yeah, and I'll send it to you. We I'm glad we did. But my gut was telling me not to go to DC, and I listened to my gut.
Me too. I was gonna go, and then somebody, a follower, somebody, I forgot who it was. They said, don't go. And then I've been to DC. The thing about DC, Trump flew us out there with Blexit. A lot of people went down there. They flew. I think it was a Turning Point event years back. Hotel, plane paid for, and we were all in DC listening to Trump speak at the White House. It was amazing. But I felt like a weird presence in DC when I would walk around it. Like, I don't know what it was. It felt like there's a heavy, demonic, oppressive spirit over the city, and I ain't trying to be a crazy Christian, but it was just a weird feeling that I got walking around DC, dealing with BLM and Antifa, all these freaking Trump haters. They're dangerous, right? But I just felt like DC, I wouldn't want to go back because it just felt a certain way. Maybe I didn't get to experience a full tour and go to see everything, but from what I saw in the 2 days I was there, I was already getting into fights with these people, and it just feels like just evil. I don't know if that's normal, but I didn't like it.
My brother went to Atlanta for a big rally before the January 6th, right? I think he went at the beginning of January, and he said that they had a fence up, and Antifa on one side of the fence, and they were all armed with guns, and he and a bunch of rednecks were on the other side of the fence with the police, and they weren't allowed to have guns.
Wow.
And they were just yelling at each other through this fence. So, that's the thing. Look at what they did to Giuliani. Look what they did to a lot of people just for questioning the narrative of the election of 2020. And I mean, they had a lot of power once they took power, but they were really afraid that we were going to come back because they put all that fencing up around the Capitol building, the White House. And I mean, that's how afraid they were going to actually come back. And look what they did to the Oath Keepers. Those guys too, they all went down. And it's because they could paint a narrative that they wanted to paint with the American people. I mean, obviously the majority didn't buy it because we overwhelmingly voted for Trump.
Amen.
This election, even with the cheating that still went on, and with him being prosecuted for this and that, and he was a child rapist.
They drove him through the mud.
Oh yeah, they did, but I think a lot of people seen it, and a lot of people, of other races came in and said, you know what, this smells like a rat. They're doing to him what they do to us.
And you know what's crazy? I was attacked. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I was attacked at a school board meeting.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, that was crazy. That lady.
And she's a teacher for MISD.
And then the guy who owns the funeral home came at you. Yeah,
exactly. And it's kind of crazy because I'm just in there filming. I didn't approach them. Yet I'm the one that was kicked out, me and my wife. And then I told my wife, I said, if I would have attacked somebody in there, I would have been the one in jail quick.
Absolutely.
So let's really back down to the local issues. I want to touch on that real quick. But I think really there is, it's against us. I'll say nationwide, being a Christian, whatever. But there's a bias. They get away, like you said earlier, they get away with doing things that if we did it, there's some guys, like I said, are still locked up, J6ers, they ain't seen the light of day. Right? And some they had barely even gotten out. Shout out Jenny McCombs that has the the place out there in Texas where she helps them get back into society. But they do things that if we did, we wouldn't get away with it. So that sucks. So I want to touch on Hobbs.
Okay.
So you said you wanted to write a book, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, you can even go back to the 70s, and there was a lot of murders in Hobbs. There's been murders that have been featured on a lot of those unsolved mysteries and crime shows.
And for people that don't know where is Hobbs, and give you the background on it?
Well, Hobbs is southeastern New Mexico, Lee County, which it's a small town with a lot of money because it was an old town. And
how many people live there?
I want to say about 60,000 now, but when I was a kid, it was about 25 to 30,000.
You grew up there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I ain't gonna lie, I want to say preface this, when they was in us to Hobbs, working in the oil field companies, we did not like it.
Yeah.
I went one time and they got us a hotel. There's some lady in the morning, 3 a.m, knocking on my door trying to use my phone. Like, it just had a more crackhead vibe. That's what I heard. And I heard the gangs were dangerous. I heard they had a very bad, the rate of people being unalive there compared to how many people that lived there. It was like out of control from the gangs, the substance abuse, and a lot of weird activity that was happening in Hobbs. Go ahead.
Well, growing up there, I didn't get into any of that element with those people, but I knew what was going on around me.
Okay.
But I heard the stories and seen a lot of things, and then I had family members that were deeply involved into doing those type of activities, but not murder, but being involved in doing the illegal drugs and stuff. But what
was it always like that in Hobbs?
Yeah, even back. Okay, so my grandfather, I think he died there in 1929 or 30 or somewhere around there, and he said that telling me stories about one side of Hobbs was South Hobbs and one side was North Hobbs, and that if you cross the street over to the other side, they'd beat you senseless. How they would beat the local sheriff up and lock him into the local jail. I mean,
That would really
oh yeah,
happen?
it was bad. And then there was, it was just a boom town. So, it was wild, right? So it was a massive boom town. I mean, the famous people that had had old leases out there, you'd be surprised if you
Like
went
who?
through. John Wayne,
He has some leases out there?
yeah, John Wayne. Most Hollywood movie stars from the '40s had leases out there. Um, Also, people don't know this, but Jimmy Stewart, the famous actor from those movies, he was also a bomber pilot, right? And so there was a big Air Force base in Hobbs where they practiced those B-1 bombers out there, and then the main air base was out at Roswell, but they would practice there in Artesia, New Mexico, and they had massive airfields out there, and that's where Jimmy Stewart was stationed, was in Hobbs.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
And I don't think too much about the aliens, but they talk about the Roswell. What did you think about that growing up in Hobbs? What y'all hear about that?
well, I have a lot to go on that, man. I mean, I can give you all kinds of stories about that. So I have a friend, his dad grew up on the ranch next door, and he believes the story. He grew up. The ranch was actually in Corona, New Mexico. Was it in Roswell? Roswell's just the closest city. But he grew up on the ranch next door. One night I was selling a car real late at night to a lady from Roswell, and her grandfather was Matt Brazel.
Who's
The
that?
He's the landowner from that found the craft.
Oh,
Yeah, so me and her had
oh,
some interesting conversation tonight. I bought a car one time from a man. He was a mechanic on that Air Force base at the time. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and definitely something they found, and immediately shut it up. I don't know if it's UFO or not, and some people say yes, and people that I talked to that are not quite eyewitnesses, but family members were eyewitnesses. Well, they said it was alien, but I really still don't know if I believe that or not.
okay. So back to Hobbs then. Growing up there, how was it?
Hobbs is rough. It's a
Wow.
rough town. Yeah, I mean, you had to know how to fight, or you were going to. I mean, it was a fight was every couple of days in your life. Growing up. I mean, kids are rough. It's a oilfield town. And the drugs, and I remember I had this friend who would go to his house, and he had a really abusive father, and he would I could hear the dad just screaming at the mother, just being horrible to her when he was off, and this kid would sit in his room and he would inhale Freon, and he'd try to get me to do it. I wouldn't do it. I just, like I said, I always follow my gut, right?
Yeah.
He's since passed, but
Wow.
he grew up really bad. I mean, just the fights. I mean, it was just, we all fight. I have a really good friend of mine, and the first time we met was in a fight. He walked up and punched me. We've been friends for 40 years. You know, just
Why were the kids like that?
it's just a rough oilfield town. I'm sure it was the same way in Odessa or Midland or at that time in the '70s. It was
It was
just
different time.
rough.
Wow.
You know.
Okay, so you talking about these unalivings happening in Hobbs. We'll touch on that.
Well, there's just been a lot of so there was a family that owned a pawn shop or a jewelry store there, and the way they were murdered, satanic carvings in their bodies, and um, organs removed, and
For real?
yeah, it was awful what they did to those old people.
When did this happen?
I want to say in the late '90s, they were I believe they were the Foyas, what their names were, but
And what side of town?
I want to say that's probably over in the north side of town. Um, and then there was several people that I known that were murdered. There was a young woman. She was so beautiful. She had 3 kids, and she worked at a convenience store at night, and then during the day she would deliver parts for a local auto parts company. And she would come in and pick up parts because I worked for a car dealership, and she would come in, and she was so nice. She was just when she'd walk in, everybody was just like, "Wow, she's just such a nice person." Well, one day she didn't come in, and come to find out, she was kidnapped out of the convenience store while she was working at night, and she was taken out and murdered. And the same thing with her, carved satanic
Mm,
symbols in her. They cut off her
yeah. Mm.
her breast.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they did horrible things to this girl. People have been tried and put in jail for it. But the crazy thing is that the guy that they sent off to prison for this was at my house the day before. Like I was telling you, I had a
Ooh.
family member that was, involved in the drugs, and this guy was one of his friends. And I had a son that had a little dirt bike, and he had a flat, and this guy knew how to fix it, and he came to my house and fixed the flat for the dirt bike. Nicest guy, seemed real nice, but he went and murdered that girl that night.
So let me ask you this: we're talking about the M word. Y'all know what it is, y'all? MTH. We'll say it like that. But when I first heard about that coming to Odessa, because now it's probably, I'm pretty sure, in every city in the United States. But I want to say maybe 20 years back, 15 years back, when the M word started coming around, people using it, and we knew a guy in Odessa that his father owned an electric company, but they couldn't trust him because he was just on that, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
And they said that he was digging in his foot in his little camper looking for a worm.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom told me, I'm like, what the hell? I never heard that in my life, right? But this guy's digging in his foot. He's on the M word, and we thought it was funny, of course. I mean, we never heard about this, but that's the first time I heard about that's what it would do to people. And I think even somehow, one of my thoughts on the M word is, I think it lowers, some kind of force field we have that God has given us, in where you can basically see into the spiritual realm, maybe, because I heard people saying a lot of demonic stuff happens when they're on that stuff. I think that basically, without going too deep into it, that God has like a level of protection over our brains or our minds, right? And whenever you do substances, sometimes it kind of allows us to, that force field goes down a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if you even heard about this theory.
Yes, because we talked about this earlier, your pineal gland.
Okay.
So you got a crystal in your skull that gets corroded from chemicals,
Okay.
And a lot of this, drugs of that type, that they make it out of household products.
Oh, so it makes sense then.
Yeah, they use lithium batteries and different kinds of chemicals, because some chemists just figured out how to do this, make it yourself kit. But this drug started in World War II. It was all the German soldiers had fill kits to make it. And that's what they used to fight all day and all night.
What side?
The Germans.
So it was true about Hitler. They always say that he was addicted to that stuff.
Yes, he was. Yeah, absolutely. And then he had big holes in his stomach too. He had bad ulcers from taking it because they took it in pill form.
Okay, so me saying that how people could see into the spiritual realm, you think that's plausible?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've seen documentaries on it.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. That's what I noticed it like maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago when it first hit Odessa. So when did it first hit Hobbs?
70s, just in a different form.
Okay,
it's just a form of speed, basically. So a lot of people, what happened is, a lot of people had asthma back in the day, and they would give them bronchulators and things like that, or basically speed. So their bodies were addicted to that, running at that level and that pace all the time. So, a lot of people, it was a natural movement into that type of drug,
because they went from there to something else, correct? Basically,
yeah.
Without saying too much about it, how it works.
It would basically the same kind of effect, right? Other than they would keep you up for at first for days and days, and a lot of people, their creativity came out because of it. Like they could do a lot of creative things, or what they thought was creative, like they could paint or make figurines out of something, or
they thought they could,
and they would fixate on certain things like keychains or little toys, or
these
trinkets.
Guys, these guys will be in the trailer park all cleaning their cars.
Yeah, yep.
At like 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just usually you can tell, and they also, when they're walking down the street, you can tell because they're kind of like going to a beat of their own drum in there, but they got a lot of confidence, and but yeah, and they know each other when they see each other too. It's kind of funny because some experiences I've had with a family member that had gotten off of that, and while he was getting off of it, all of them other people that were still on it would seek you out, and you could seek each other out in stores. So you know who you are.
Why do you think that was possible? Is that?
I think it's like it's a demonic thing. It's very demonic, right? I mean, like I said, a lot of these murders that had a lot of satanic satanic,
Imagery and
yeah, like one person that I knew very well that was murdered, another female, she was crucified upside down.
Hobbs.
Hmm.
They caught the guy?
Yes, same guy who
Oh
murdered the
shit,
girl
that's
from the
giving me
convenience store.
chills.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the M word, that stuff, has a heavy demonic association or
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It really any of it, right? It's all got a demonic tone to it. I mean,
mhm.
anything to bring down your defense and to remove you from God, to separate you from God, right? That's what happens. You're separated, right? And
Man, that's
and and
crazy.
and that is death. Basically, you're separated from God. You're basically dead spiritually.
Okay, so let's go back to the Hobbs situation then, right?
Hmm.
So what's happening in this town? It's a lot of more unalivings. It's just constant or what? Till when?
Well, okay, so there was a book. I think it was called The Drug Dealer. It was written back in the early '90s, and it was about a lot of drug dealers that were from Mexico, South America, maybe. I can't remember before El Chapo, that were in, you know in Hobbs all the time. They described Hobbs. They talked about Hobbs and how they hid from the law in Hobbs. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not very far from Hobbs to
Oh, I read
from
a
El
book.
Paso.
I read a book, The Last Narco, and it was what's his name? Uh, what's his name? Pablo Costa.
Yeah, Pablo. Pablo's who I'm talking about.
He had a lot of dealings
Yeah,
in Hobbs,
yeah.
and his people will go hide there, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, go
yeah.
ahead.
I knew people that knew him, and there was a lot of murders in Lovington too that they just said, "Oh yeah, well." I mean, there was a, a, a boy who was probably 13 or 14 was assassinated in his home by you know for some reason. His dad worked at a prison and was accused of dealing drugs in the prison, and then
Wow.
somebody come into their house and shot that boy right there while he was on the telephone.
So what's your overall general thoughts about Hobbs and all this stuff? You think that there's something more to it there, or is I guess with the M word, right? Will it taking over? Do you think that Hobbs has been taken over by that?
If you're in that living in that realm, it's got a part of it. You'll see it, but if you're not, and you just live a normal life, and you're just going to work, and you come home, you're never going to notice it, other than what you read in the newspaper.
Okay.
Those people don't mess with you generally. They're not. They battle with each other or with someone that, like I said, like a jewelry store owner or something like that. That somewhere they can get quick cash and smash and grab or
Mm.
things like that to get money. That's what those circumstances usually happen. The it, it it's they're not gonna approach you in the street and want to try to rob you because there's a risk of them getting hurt. You know,
So they still have that mental capacity of kind of somewhat being.
dude, yeah, they're not just like walking around like a zombie. I mean, their mental heightened is real high, but it's a very demonic overtone to it.
What's what? How do you know this?
Well, like I tell you, I had a very close family member that was a bad in this, right? I don't want to touch on it because I don't want to hurt his feelings or
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
get
Well,
too much on it, um, but he's been saved for 20 something years now, and it took removing him from Hobbs completely as an adult and put him on a different path. And that was the only way. If not, he would never made it. He would tell me stories of, you know, waking up, people having guns in his face, but he still had the Holy Spirit, and I think a lot of it that's what kept him alive and
amen.
kept him from getting that. But like I said, he was just one of those kids that was on asthma medications. At that time, they had machines, and they put this fluid in there, and you would breathe this asthma medicine and
Oh,
to open your lungs up, right? And so inhaler opens up your bronchioles, and your blood's flowing, and it's like speed, right? So it's just what he was used to. That's why he
mm,
got on that. But wonderful person, he still had the light in him always.
wow.
He couldn't go to that dark side, but he witnessed a lot of that dark side.
And I'm a firm believer too. I believe once you get born again, you can never lose your salvation. The Holy Spirit is a down payment, basically, until you go with the Father. That's just my train of thought. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to get too much into theology weeds, right? But I feel like someone could do that, right? Because like Paul would even tell people in the Bible, like, don't do this. Why would he tell Christians not to do this if they're not Christians, right? They're doing it, and he's telling them not to do it because they're Christians, right, or live a certain way. So
Right.
I said to say this, even my little brother, he got saved too. We're all street dudes, and he got born again, right? But he went back to it's like when they say it's kind of worse if you know the truth and you go back to the vomit, basically, because it's even harder. But he was similar. I see him on that all like black eyeballs. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I didn't even recognize him, and thankfully he went to prison. And I think that was a good thing for him. I used to pray for my family members to go to prison because they wouldn't listen out here in the street.
Yeah.
But on that stuff, he will be a whole different person, basically.
Well, just removing him from Hobbs to another area, even though that other area was just as bad.
Mm.
I mean, had just as much of that stuff around. Just not knowing those people and not having that connection with the people that were considered your friends, because they will not leave you alone. Even to this day, they if he went and hung around over there for very long, they would start pulling you in, because that's what they do. It's like misery loves company.
I'll tell you what, I just want to, we're wrapping it up here, but I'll just say that I'm just grateful because I wake up like earlier, I'm pressing some shirts, we're doing some political stuff here. And I'm there with my wife, my kids. I'm just like, it hits me a lot of times. I'm like, man, I'm grateful, man. I'm living my life with my family. I'm not in prison. I'm not dead. I'm not broke. You know what I mean? Like, I just,
Mhm.
sometimes it hits me sometimes, especially being an ex-street guy, how some of my friends are no longer here, and I just appreciate it more. I'm grateful I have a refrigerator and a toilet. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right.
I got food. And it hits me, like I said, and today it hit me, or last night, I'm like, damn, I get to spend time with my wife. Like, I'm living a normal life. And it's very sad. And I even found that, I could never really get. It's gotten better over time because I really don't talk to my family anymore. But I always felt like, damn, I can't really get to experience the full joy in life because I'm living good, and then I start thinking about my family, right? Like
Mhm.
they're all twisted off. But at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our actions, right? And
Right.
you got to have accountability.
Free will.
Yeah. So I don't let that affect me no more. But it would affect me back in the day where I'm like, man, I'm living a good life, but I'm like, man, my mom, my brother, my sister, they're all messed up, or some people that I will know, and that will kind of drag down my joy. But I'm glad nowadays I live a life where there's freedom in Christ, and I'm grateful and I'm blessed to even be here. And it's sad when you have family members that are lost in a certain lifestyle or world, but at the same time, you can't help people that don't want to help themselves. I learned that a long time ago being a Christian. You can't save everybody.
No, you can't.
But go
Pray
ahead.
for them. That's the best thing you can do, is pray for somebody, right? And speak positivity, and hope that reaches them, right? And that's sometimes I mean, that just give somebody a hand up, not a hand out, right? And to teach them maybe something new, teach a man to fish, right? I mean, there's so many things from the Bible that you can apply today.
Man.
And the thing is, I mean, we could go on all day with all this stuff, but um, it's the same thing. Let's get back to the politics of how do you correct all this, right? How do you correct the corruptness in this and that? Better vetting, right? We got to figure out how to vet people better. And it takes money, and it takes time, but like Charlie Kirk reaching all these children, I wasn't really paying much attention to Charlie Kirk because
Me neither. I mean,
but now I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy was amazing,
same here. I liked him. I knew he was on our side, but I never really
I
followed
didn't
him
realize
like that.
how many people he was reaching. He was reaching masses and masses of people. But what we got to do, if you want to take back your country and to protect it, we're going to have to take it back block by block, right? And you're going to have to vet these people. We're going to have to do a lot of vetting, because people will tell you what they want. I mean, the Texas House it's all Democrats. They just ran as Republicans. And I will challenge Landgraf. I will challenge Craddock, anybody to debate, anytime they want to debate about issues, because they are nothing but doublespeak.
Is there hope for not just Texans, Americans, but just the way the political game is? Because me focusing on national politics and now local politics, it's just a whole freaking can of worms. Is there hope?
Well, yeah, there's always hope, right? Because there's a God.
Amen.
And the thing is with Donald Trump, I mean, Donald Trump has his bad points and his good points, and
Don't we all?
Yeah, that's the thing. God never used a perfect person, right? Never used a perfect person.
Except Jesus. Amen.
Yeah, Jesus, right. So the thing with Donald Trump is, if he doesn't clean this mess up, he's going to be, and his family will be in prison forever the day he leaves office. If they win, take control again, Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, me, you,
I'm
we'll
gonna say
all go to
us.
prison. Because Joaquin Jeffries just said the other day that if they win back control of this country, that every MAGA supporter will be in jail.
He said that.
Yeah. You know what? And what I say to him, come and take it, buddy. Because I tell you right now, I'm going to die with my boots on. I'm going to be like Charlie Kirk. I'm going to die with my boots on. And if I have to die making the world a better place for my children and grandchildren, then great for me. That's even better for me. You just take me out.
What a way to go, right? We're winding down right here. Shannon, final words for everybody watching. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Hopefully we can do more of these. Whatever you want to tell everybody, the floor is yours. Go ahead, Shannon.
I just want to ask everybody to get more involved. I know a lot of y'all have seen what happened to Charlie Kirk, and a lot more people are like starting to come to Christ because of it, and also too, you get more involved in your local politics. I mean,
especially
that it's more important than your national politics. We've got to start vetting these people. We've got to start taking more time, and then there's just really no way. I mean, I could not tell you anything about anybody that's running locally. I have no clue. Where we're going to get, how we got to figure out a way to bring that to light, because Donald Trump endorses a lot of people, and there's a lot of people he's endorsed that I don't agree with, like Dan Patrick. I think he's not a good person. I don't think Burrows, the speaker, is a good person. I don't think Landgraf is a good person. I don't think Craddock's a good person. These people built empires off, going to politics, and so I just know we need to really start vetting people better. And like I said, we're going to do it block by block and support the people that are like Shandy, that has, I mean, she's an open book. Call her up.
Judge Campbell.
Yeah, Judge Campbell. Call these people up and talk to them.
Yep. And I've always said this before, because it's easy to be a Trump supporter. I'm not going to say it's easy because they want to take us out, but I said back in the day, everybody was going to rallies all the time. I went to one rally, and it's easy to go to rallies. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to go do what everybody's doing. It's cool. I started focusing on my backyard. Well, I love Trump. I love the national politics. It's interesting. But once I started focusing on my backyard, I was like, man, we got problems. And I agree with you. It starts with your own backyard, block by block.
Block by block, buddy. And so your neighbors, start talking to your neighbors and have them call Shandy. Talk to Shandy. I'm just so tired of all this. I mean, somebody called my shop yesterday, and they called anonymously, of course.
What?
And they said, because we have a Trump flag out front, and they said, you have a pedophile on your flag. And we just busted out laughing.
Wow.
They just try to get in your goat. You know what? I'm not taking down my flag for you. It's been stolen a couple of times, and we just put it back up. I can buy another one. I just don't think that, you let them get you down. Don't back down, because I noticed that a lot of people are not backing down anymore. But I don't think we have to come to complete violence and this and that, and follow in their footsteps of burning down cities. But just stand up to them. Just don't let them push you around.
I totally agree.
And just knock on your neighbor's door, and they get mad at you, and say, listen,
I care.
I'm here because I care. I care about the kids. I care about this. And sometimes I have a child right now who's, late teens, and she's, she thought Charlie Kirk was not a nice person.
Wow.
And I have not had the discussion because she won't have it with me, but it's because she has done obviously no research or to spend any time learning anything about Charlie Kirk, or see what or watch the complete videos of what he did and how he talked to people. Because I just started watching those myself. I had
amazing.
No idea.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I'm just blown away.
Yeah. Cause I'm a mean Christian. I'm a mean Trumper. He's nice.
But when he passed away, something inside me, I felt it. And I, like I said, I'd never even watched a video. And then I started watching his videos, and I now know why, because he was important to us. He had a message, but you know what? His message is only going to get stronger. It's growing. It's incredible, the movement that's going on. And every university is now getting a chapter. You know what? And these people come at you screaming in your face, let them scream in your face. Oh, well. Like you had to do that night at the school board. I mean, you kept your composure very well. I'd have trouble not going Lee County on somebody, but
yeah, that's what we got to do. Just stand our ground.
That's right. Stand your ground. Don't back down, and don't start swinging at people, unless you feel threatened.
Always defend yourself.
Yeah.
All right, my buddy Shannon, y'all, we'll be trying to do some more podcasts coming up. I appreciate you coming down here to the South Side.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And with that, we're out of here. God bless you and the audience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.